Greetings, everyone. Have you ever met someone who looked happy on the outside but was hiding a broken heart inside? Today, I would like to tell you the story of a prince made of gold and a little swallow with a heart full of kindness and a friendship that changed an entire city. This is the Happy Prince. High above a city stood a statue of the Happy Prince. He was admired by everyone. His body was covered with fine gold. His eyes were made of bright sapphires, and a large red ruby shone on the handle of his sword. Whenever people looked at him, they would say, "How beautiful he is! What a magnificent statue!" One evening, a little swallow flew into the city. His friend had already gone to Egypt and he was hurrying to join them. Looking for a place to rest, he spotted the statue. The swallow landed between the feet of the Happy Prince and said happily, "I have a golden bedroom." But just as he was preparing to sleep, a drop of water fell into him. Then another and another. The swallow looked up in surprise and wondered, "That's strange. There isn't a cloud in the sky, but it's raining." When he looked more carefully, he discovered that the Happy Prince was crying. Large tears were running down the prince's golden cheeks. Feeling sorry for him, the swallow asked, "Who are you?" The statue replied gently, "I am the Happy Prince." The swallow was puzzled. Tilting his head, he asked, "Then why are you crying?" The Happy Prince looked over the city and began to explain. "When I was alive and had a human heart, I did not know what tears were. I lived in a palace where sadness was not allowed to enter. During the day, I played with my companions in the garden, and at night, I danced in the great hall. Everyone called me the Happy Prince. I was happy, if pleasures can truly be called happiness. But now that I stand high above the city, I can see all the misery and suffering of my people, and although my heart is made of lead, I cannot stop myself from crying." Then the Happy Prince looked toward a small house. His voice became even softer. "Far away, I can see a poor woman sitting beside her sick child. The boy is asking for oranges, but his mother has nothing to give him except river water." The prince turned to the swallow and pleaded, "Little swallow, will you take the ruby from my sword and bring it to them?" The swallow shifted uncomfortably. He really wanted to leave for Egypt. So he replied, "My friends are waiting for me in Egypt." But the prince begged him once more, "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you stay with me for one night and be my messenger?" The swallow looked at the prince's tears. At last, he sighed and said, "I will stay with you for one night." The swallow then carefully removed the ruby and carried it across the city. He flew into the poor woman's house and left the ruby beside her. Then he fluttered over the sick boy's head, gently fanning him with his wing. He heard the child murmur, "How cold I feel." The next day, the swallow returned to the prince. He was preparing to leave for Egypt when the prince called out again, "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you stay one night longer?" The swallow sighed. "What do you want me to do now?" The prince pointed toward a small room. "There is a young writer He is trying to finish a play for the theater, but he is cold and hungry. The prince paused before saying, "Take one of my sapphire eyes and give it to him." The swallow was shocked. He cried, "Dear prince, I cannot do that." But the prince gently repeated, "Please do as I ask." The swallow knew he could not refuse. So he removed one sapphire eye and carried it to the rider. The rider picked up the jewel and exclaimed, "A sapphire! This must have been sent by someone who admires my work. Now I can finish my play." The following night, the prince saw another child in need. A little girl stood in the street crying. She had dropped her matches into the river. If she returned home without any money, she would be punished. The prince turned to the swallow. "Take my another sapphire eye and give it to her." The swallow stared at him. "But then you will be blind." The prince answered calmly, "Please, little swallow." The swallow obeyed. He took the second sapphire eye to the little girl. When she saw it, her face lit up with joy. Holding it tightly, she exclaimed, "What a beautiful piece of glass!" And she ran home laughing. The swallow returned to the prince. Looking at the now blind statue, he declared, "You are blind now, prince, so I will stay with you always." The prince smiled warmly. As winter approached, the weather became colder. Each day, the swallow told the prince stories about Egypt and the land he had visited. Each day, the prince asked him to help the poor. The prince would say, "Take the gold from my body and give it to those who need it." And the swallow did exactly that. Piece by piece, he removed the gold leaf covering the prince. Soon, the poor had food, the hungry children were happier, people's life began to improve. But the prince himself became dull and gray. Winter arrived. Snow covered the city. The little swallow became weaker and weaker. At last, he knew that he was dying. Gathering his remaining of strength, he flew to the prince's shoulder. Looking lovingly at his friend, he whispered, "Dear prince, I have come to say goodbye." The prince replied sadly, "Little swallow, you have stayed too long." The swallow smiled weakly, then said, "I am going to the house of death. Death is the brother of sleep, is he not?" Then he added softly, "May I kiss you?" The prince answered, "I am glad that you are finally going to Egypt. But kiss me, because I love you." The swallow kissed the happy prince, and then he fell dead at the prince's feet. At that very moment, a loud crack echoed through the city. The lead heart inside the happy prince had broken in two. The next morning, the mayor and town councils walked through the city. "Look up at the statue," the mayor exclaimed. "Why? The happy prince no longer looks beautiful." One councillor quickly agreed. "He is little better than a beggar." Another nodded in agreement. Soon, they decided the statue should be taken down. The statue was pulled down and sent to a furnace. But something strange happened. The lead heart refused to melt. No matter how hot the fire became, it remained unchanged. So the workers threw it onto a rubbish heap. and lying beside it was the dead swallow. Far above the city, God spoke to one of his angels, "Bring me the two most precious things in the city." Then angel searched carefully. Then he returned carrying the dead swallow and the broken-legged heart. Presenting them to God, the angel said, "I have brought the two most precious things in the city." God smiled and he replied, "You have chosen correctly. In my garden of paradise, this little swallow shall sing forever, and in my city of gold, the happy prince shall praise me forever." And so the happy prince gave away everything he had. The swallow gave up everything he wanted. Neither of them became richer, neither of them became more beautiful, yet they became the most precious thing in the city. Perhaps true happiness is not about what we keep for ourselves, but about what we give to others. That is all from me. Thank you.